Okay, we have a presentation of Achievement of Service Award. Is the Mansfield track team present?
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I guess I don't know what happened this time again.
Okay.
We have 3 board members that's here from
Okay.
Mansfield, and we will accept whatever y'all have to give us today for the Mansfield High Track.
Okay. Sonny, you want?
You go ahead, man.
Okay, we have this plaque for the.
Would you mind, the board members?
Yes, please.
Come on, Mr. Mayweather, Ms. Thomas.
As we know that the Mansfield High track team. Mansfield President, Mansfield Wolverine recognized Louisiana High School Athletes Association 2023 3A State Champion Track and Field.
We just want to thank the police chairman for thinking enough of Mansfield High to present them with this and just honoring them even though they are not here. So again, I'm gonna talk again, but we thank y'all very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And also, we got a cake in the back if y'all would like to take it and
Take it to
y'all
them.
members eat it.
Well, if you don't mind, you know,
Yeah, whole public.
we don't want some.
Okay. Yes, ma'am, please. All right. Any announcements? If there's none, call for additions and deletions to the agenda. I have one, which will go under new business. Adopt a resolution using David B. Means buildings, 4-H building to house livestock during the declared natural disaster emergency.
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Rowe,
Second.
a second by Mr. Jones and Ms. Boyd. Roll call vote, please. Mr. Richard?
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Jones? Roll call.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
So new business,
Sir?
new business.
Yeah, on the new business. Ayes have it, we'll add that to the agenda, on the new business. Okay, any, guests and public comments?
Mr. President, I'd like to say something.
Yes, sir.
You know, every year, to keep DeSoto beautiful, do a indexer where we do go around the parish looking at the roads and looking at, you know, how much amount of trash that is accumulated
Right.
within our roads, you know, in our parish. And as I was driving, as we was riding around, you know, I was appalled at the condition of some of our roads. Not only our roads, pretty much not so much as our roads, but the state roads.
You mean with trash, correct?
No, the condition of the road surface themselves.
Okay.
And it was deplorable, some of them. And I was, you know, and I was thinking about, at the time, we sent $139 million from oil revenues to the state. And in turn, we got back, what, 1.1 million?
Something like that.
1.1 million out of $139 million. That don't seem fair to anybody. You can't even justify that.
Right.
And then not on top of that, we have bad roads. They're not even taking care of the roads that they should be in our parish. So, being an election year, I think we need to really push getting this bill. You know, Representative Larry Bagley pushed a bill. I think that we would get, what, 10%? But I think we at least ought to get 20%. And we need to get, I would like to see the parish get aboard with someone who's gonna go down and fight with him. Whoever our senator be, or who we elect, we need to get somebody who is pushing for that particular bill. And I think we as a jury need to consider that and really endorse someone that would do that for us. That's all, Mr. President.
Now to be the servants tax.
Right, severance taxes.
Okay. President report, none. Council report,
None.
administrative report.
Thank you, Mr. President. All right. Item 1, an update on the 4 roads projects, Cody Lane, Kyle Porter, Hannah Tucker, and Jesse Latin.
Mr. Michael,
Yes, sir.
Did I miss guest and public comments?
Yes, sir, that what Mr. Arnell spoke on.
Okay.
You wanna go
We
back?
do that. I think Ms. Connie wants to speak.
Okay.
Oh, okay, well, come on, Miss.
I had a bunch of questions.
Come on, please.
Ma'am, could you come to the,
Could you come to the
Is somebody
microphone,
bring it
please?
I had a lot of questions with what has gone on with reapportionment.
What's your name again?
Connie Jackson, Village of Longstreet.
Okay.
You
And,
can sit down, ma'am. You're welcome to sit down.
excuse me?
You're welcome to
I
sit-
don't need
oh,
to, that's all
yes.
right, thank you. Since I came in, the Register of Voters came in and she settled a lot of this. But the thing is, with all the questions that I have been getting, it would have been really nice if our police jurymen would have contacted me that the changes that were being made. Now, thank goodness, the Village of Longstreet is in one police jury.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
whole municipality instead of two. The way it was set up, Mr. Mitchell had called me to let me know the whole village was in the one police juryman.
Right.
All right. The very next day, I get a card that tells me that precinct 28 goes to Grand Cane to vote.
Mhm.
Well, that's okay. The rest of the village is voting in precinct 11C. So the mayor goes to Grand Cane to vote. That's the way it was done.
Yes.
The reason that I told Mr. Mitchell that I wanted to say something is we have a lot of people in the whole parish who go to church, they go to the grocery store, they go to the doctor, and that's about it. But as far as what's going on in the police jury, they don't know what's going on. They just accept whatever comes. And I think it's time that some communication got out there some way.
Yes, ma'am. We'll, as a jury, we'll apologize about that. We just anchored this down here about a month ago ourselves. I know it's a bit confusing, but we will try to get the information out that's needed through Mr. Mander.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, see, that's what I understood when the passage of ordinance 10 of 2023 last month was done, within the polling places were established at that time. And so that's why we got new cards.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your
Ma'am, I want to
consideration.
say to you though, for real, cause you honestly right. And I tried to get them not to pass changing polling places in the middle of a major election because I knew a lot of the constituents was gonna be confused. I have been getting calls after calls after calls because people are very confused, not only with the redistricting, but the polling place. And we do have some mistakes that have been made. We got 40 in one particular place that's been made. Not only did they polling place change, they whole district changed, and it wasn't right. So, honestly, that should have been turned in when Plan H got passed. That should have been already turned in to the state, and the state should have been sent out new registration cards to get you all prepared for the new redistricting. I understand that voter registration saying they had 10 days. They shouldn't have waited until the judge passed an order. That should have been done way back. So I'm gonna say I voted against it because I didn't want you all to be confused. And it's not just Longstreet, it's all over the parish. And I'm so sorry.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Connie. Okay, administrative report.
Yes, sir. Update on the 4 roads projects, Cody Lane, Kyle Porter, Hannah Tucker, and Jesse Latin. I know y'all have been waiting for this one for some time.
Yes.
We sent the, to advertisement the first week in August. The pre-bid conference for this is actually tomorrow here at the jury office at 10 a.m. to meet with anyone who's gonna be bidding on it. And the bid opening is gonna be next Tuesday, the 29th, if any of the jurors would like to attend here at the jury meeting at 10 o'clock. So we're moving forward with those projects. And that's getting quite a few of those roads off of our capital list. An update on the scrap metal at the landfill. We have solicited bids twice for scrap metal. The first round of the bids resulted in one bid, which was later withdrawn that same day by that one bidder. The second round of the bids will be sent out this week. For all the scrap that currently is at the Mundy landfill on the C&D cell, we've requested a quote from multiple vendors for them to come and remove it. We don't have the option of keeping it out there. It's an eyesore, but it's also a violation of DEQ regulations. We have to deal with that, so we need to get that scrap metal taken care of. Now, to dispel any rumors or myths that might be out there about that have been brought to my attention, this office, no letter has been sent from this office or myself alleviating any responsibility of the vendor who is, or waiving them of their responsibility that has been picked up over the years from 2019 to 2023. We've had a vendor going out there picking up scrap metal. Now, when I started first looking into this, it was sometime between January and March of this year, we stopped them from removing the scrap metal, and then we dug into this. With the help of finance, we've determined we have no active contract with any scrap metal dealer. The jury has not signed a contract with a scrap metal dealer, so everything that's been going on, they've been removing, has been done basically from 2019 with the current dealer who was doing it without an agreement. The prior dealer we had out there, which was MIMS, they did pay us for some scrap metal that they removed, but we don't have an agreement signed with them. The jury doesn't have anything in writing for this. So that's the first order of business. We need to have something in writing, an agreement, in order to address these scrap metal issues. So I want the jury to be aware of that. As soon as we get a bid back from a vendor, we will bring that to the jury and let y'all make a decision on that. But this is not something that I'm gonna make a decision on. This is something the jury's gonna make the decision on. I want that to be perfectly clear. Because I know it's been out there that I'm making deals with someone. I am not making deals with anybody. Everything goes before the jury, especially with this scrap metal stuff. So I wanted to make sure and I address everybody's concern. If there's gonna be an issue with the current dealer who has stopped picking scrap metal up out there, that's gonna be the jury's decision, not my decision. So I want y'all to be aware of that.
Have y'all rescinded your demand for payment?
Well, the demand for payment, that was a verbal demand. I don't think we sent a letter to them demanding it. We sent them copies of everything that they had picked up, and we told them, based upon the American metal standards of what we understood an average pricing, they would owe us something. But we couldn't even determine what we were paid by MIMS prior to 2019. So I don't know what to bill them at this point.
Well, if there's no contract, I would assume there's nothing to bill him for, right?
Exactly.
Correct.
Him or her or whoever is doing it.
That was the conversation I had with the dealer. If there's no contract, we have nothing that we have legally can stand on.
Yes, we can.
Do we have a
The law
contract?
says a verbal agreement. It's just the same as the agreement, or it's a contract. Even if it was it's done the same way it's been doing. My thing is, if you coming in that, first of all, what I got a problem with, if you coming into that yard down there, or the road department, and you get scrap iron, first of all, you out there with no kind of liability insurance, any of that. Second of all, I can't see nobody going across a scale, being weighed in, they weighing them in, and they weighing them out, and they doing a ticket. And I talked to Mr. Bowie, who was in charge during that time, along with Sherman, who says that's the way it always has been. No tickets have ever gone, no invoices through the landfill. It was always a verbal agreement, and that's the way it was done. MIMS did it, and this man is not the only one that did it. Cause Commercial Metal, they got one, they paid in 2019 for $1,800, cause Miss Braden did her research. on this matter. And I did it because, way back when somebody reported to us that the scrap metal was getting stolen from out there. My thing is, I don't care who it is. They got better sense than to know if they going into our landfill and they taking stuff out of it, it wasn't free. So y'all can, I'm not going for that talking about we can't build them. How come we can't? I mean.
Because the jury has no formal contract. We can't find anything in writing.
I mean, so you mean to tell me if I get in my truck and I go out there and I pile my truck up with some scrap iron, I'm going to jail? Ain't no ends and what, because that's theft. Really honest, we need to be pressing some charges because that's theft. And
Y'all have a policy that prohibits scavenging, but if they're coming
I mean,
out there,
I'm telling you, and our constituents waiting to see how we gonna vote on this. Cause if we gonna let this man come out there and get that kind of money from the taxpayers, then we wrong. We wrong for that.
I don't disagree with you, Ms. Burrell. I just don't have anything in writing to back it up. That's the
And
problem.
you don't want me to go and tell the truth. Who said we ain't got no grounds to stand on? Who said this, that? Cause that's the rumor going through. So you don't want me to?
No, man, don't call any names.
I ain't, but he know. You know. I'm telling you, I'm not gonna be with it. First of all, cause it was reported that they was stealing it, and they ain't say. They say stealing it. They stealing scrap iron. Got pictures of them taking it. And Mr. Woodley, not Mr. Woodley, Mr. Bowie and Chairman said they'll be more than happy to come address this jury and explain to them how it went and how, if he talking about they had an agreement and this day it was a handshake deal. No, sir. No, it was that man had sense enough to know he was taking that scrap iron. Don't you fool yourself that he did not know that.
Mr. Fuller, you still have something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because my concern was, like I said, it wasn't given to him for free, because I can't remember what year, we discussed about that scrap being at the landfill. That was brought up in this jury meeting, so it wasn't to give to anybody for free. Why would we give away tax money that could come back to the parish, to somebody else to benefit from it? I mean, so that doesn't make sense.
You had something, Ms. Trina?
Yes, I just wanted to, legal counsel, as far as it relates to the verbal side of it.
I'll be happy to take a look into that. That's the first time that I've been asked to consider that. I'll be glad to take a look at that and try to see what kind of facts that we
I
have
think
to
that's where
support
to
that.
see what rights we
And I
have.
can render opinion to the jury on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Holmes?
Normally scrap iron dealers furnish their own dumpsters. Who was furnishing a dumpster for this iron to be put into? Was it our dumpsters or?
It was all our dumpsters, and we were
Our
actually utilizing our equipment to load it into their trucks when they came out there to pick it up.
So we were loading it for them when they
Yes,
came
sir.
out there.
And it was actually Sherman who was
So
loading
taking it out of
for
our
'em.
dumpster and putting it right into their truck.
Yeah, I mean, that's why Sherman knows so much about it, because he was the one who usually operated the track hoe, from what I understood. At least when I saw it out there, I saw Sherman operating the track hoe, loading it up for him, so.
No, I'm sorry.
Mr. Mitchell?
I'll go ahead, Mr.
Do
Mitchell.
you have weight tickets?
Yes, we have weight tickets going back,
You need
I
to
believe, all the way to
invoice- yeah.
2019.
You need to invoice them for fair market.
But how do
value.
you invoice them, what price? That's the thing, we can't get a price.
Mr.
We
Wilson,
have no contract.
You have
with
your
us.
weight ticket.
There's, and
I know that, but you have to assign a price per the weight.
Fair market price.
But you can't get a fair market. We
Yes,
don't know.
yes, you
You can
can.
get it on your
Yes,
phone.
you
all
can.
the
metal
time.
is there's always a
I
standard.
have researched this, and
have
I
a
would
record of
welcome
what it
any
was
juror
selling,
who
yeah.
has a fair market price for that to document and show me that, because from what I understand, the American Metal Standard is what a lot of these scrap iron dealers utilize, and you can't get the historical information for the American Metal Standards because it changes daily. So I don't know what those prices are. We've tried researching this.
You can-
Finance has tried
You can
researching.
find out because you can look at the
hold-
date that they sold metal,
Exactly.
that they bought metal, what the price of that was at that date. So it can be found out. That's not the issue.
We've researched this.
Well, you need to do
Finance-
some more. You
Mike,
need to do
I
some more.
told you that
It's
Hold
not
up,
that hard.
hold up.
No, I was just gonna-
Mr. Jones had something.
I was gonna mention, like Mr. Fuller said, the scrap metal, just like the stock market, it goes up and down, but there's always a recorded record
That's right.
of where it's at, or what it is at this time. Let's go back and look and see where it was at that particular time, on those particular dates, and those particular years. That's not all that hard.
But also,
But it's gonna
But
take some
I
research, yeah.
just-
But we can't let them people have it so
We will
free.
continue to look into this. I promise you that. I'm not gonna let this go. Again, I have sent no letters saying this guy's relieved of any liability up to this point. I'm merely telling you, we have done a lot of research to determine what those average prices are. We can't find it. I mean, you have to have a membership, a paid membership to the American Metal Standard as a scrap dealer. We don't have a paid membership. We'll have to
and
determine
excuse me,
that.
also you got to figure out, was it clean metal? Was it dirty metal? Was it shredded? Because see,
So,
all that's different.
Right, I want to make sure we're doing our due diligence and researching this, and it's not done. We're not done with this yet, but
Right. Yeah.
we have to deal
Thank
with what we have out there now before we get in trouble with DEQ. And that's why we're doing the advertisements.
And that's probably why we have anyone to bid on it, because it ain't worth nothing.
It might not be worth nothing then, but I remember scrap iron was going for a good penny.
Yes, ma'am.
In some of those years it was. Mr. Boyd offered to come show y'all how to go in there and get your fill, 'cause I told you that, Mike. I told you that. Mr. Boyd say, he'll come show y'all. He say, for a matter of fact, he know it wasn't free. He'll come and tell this jury that he mentioned if was this man paying for this scrap iron because they wasn't never getting nothing back on it, and you wasn't here then. But he mentioned he named 3 people that he knew it the whole time. And they kept saying they was gonna take care of it, but all the business-wise for us being paid came through this main office. And it makes me go back to the $2 million glitch that we never did find out from the road department.
And Mr. Michael, also just moving forward, please get us a contract together, an agreement in writing.
Oh, yes, sir. That's going to be the bare minimum. I mean, we have to have everything in writing here.
Right.
I'm not good with verbal agreements, although I agree with Ms. Burrell, a verbal agreement is as good as a
It's liable, yeah.
contract.
Exactly.
But, you know, anyway, I'll continue.
I wasn't getting it to him.
That's right. He owed the taxpayers and he gonna pay 'em.
That's a little bit of the police jury responsibility also. We should have had something in place.
All right, item 3, Baton Rouge trip with the sheriff.
I think we did.
I took a trip last week with the sheriff to go down to attend 3 meetings, Tuesday and Wednesday. The first meeting was, I was attempting to meet with Grace and Airbear, one of the engineering firms who are on the detention facility to have initiate discussions with them on where we are with the project, where they are with the project, because I believe the sheriff is trying to have Grace and Airbear do some engineering for his sheriff's office. Well, as I understand it, they were contributors to the project for the detention facility. That was the purpose of the initial purpose of my trip. That meeting, they canceled with me at the last minute. They are going to be coming back to me. They're going to come up here at some point and have discussions here, so I don't have to go back to Baton Rouge for that. The other 2 meetings were, I rode with the sheriff. I didn't take my jury vehicle, trying to save some money and not burn any gas or use my vehicle. I went to their LSA meeting where they adopted some resolutions supporting certain candidates. And then I went to a meeting that afternoon at the Governor's Office of Homeland Security Emergency Preparedness, the statewide agency, to discuss the radios that the sheriff's office is getting and the possible upgrading of radios for the jury, and to see if we can secure any sort of funding to help pay for that. Because as I understand it, the radios the jury currently uses in our fleet are going to need to be replaced at some point in the near future, probably within 5 years. The radios that the sheriff's department utilizes is on a different bandwidth. He has had equipment, he's supporting that equipment for his new bandwidth radios. Ours are on towers that he used to maintain, but he's not going to be maintaining that equipment anymore. It's going to be on the jury. If something breaks down, we're going to have to maintain that equipment. So I'm trying to get ahead of that issue and discuss that with GOSEP. So that was the purpose of my travel last week.
We would like to know before you went though.
Well, I did discuss it with President Ross about
Yes.
me going down there.
President Ross, not the jury.
Item 4, if you'll find attached the updated ARPA funds for each juror has. Y'all have, so far, what's left, Mr. Kennington has some, Mr. Mitchell has some, Mr. Baker, and Miss Trina Boyd Simpson. So that's the balance of the ARPA funds that I'm aware of as of this month. So if y'all have already scheduled something, it won't include any current scheduling with the road department.
Now say who all has some?
Well, you have a copy.
Don't tell me I don't have any.
No, ma'am, you spent all of yours. KCS sewer project, that's
Okay,
what your
I just
allocation.
wanna make sure it was still there.
No, this is the unallocated portions.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Norton, just to clear the record, mine is allocated to road project in my district that Mr. Clark is aware of.
Item 5, the road citation collection update. As y'all know, last month, we sent out notices to approximately 150 vendors for about $63,000 in some old citations. This is an attempt to collect on those debts. We've collected about 20% of it, roughly $12,000. And I'm going to continue to give you guys updates on those old road citations as they're available to me.
Okay.
Item 7, the resolution for the 4-H building using during emergency declarations that y'all added to the agenda tonight. The ag agent called and asked if they could utilize the barn area for some, any farmer that has an issue with the wildfires that are currently going on, if they have to relocate some of their prize animals, show animals or something that we can house. We're not doing herd dispersals. We're not gonna be taking a bunch of cows and other things in that barn. It's gonna be a very selected amount of animals, if we need to at all. They asked me to put that on the agenda for y'all to approve a resolution to do that going forward.
Or in that resolution, or we gonna have some kind of way when we taking in these animals that they can be tested, or, cause animals can carry disease and cause harm to other animals.
Well, I'm currently drafting a waiver that they're gonna have to sign, that if anything happens to their animals or a result of being in there, we're not liable. But no, the resolution has no language about testing of the animals. That's,
I'm just asking,
Yes,
cause
ma'am.
they can.
yes, ma'am.
Do you know if the air's been fixed in that building yet?
Nope, I have a meeting tomorrow with an electrician to determine what's going on. From what I know at this point, the new compressor unit that they put in, that's why it's blowing the breaker every 4 hours. So
Well, before we put a prize cow in there, because it'll surely die, it's hot in there.
I'm hoping to have that taken care of very quickly. Number 7, the recommendations for the Planning Commission, Bayou Pierre Commission, Fire District 9, Water District Number 1, and the Northwest Human Service Districts. We are replacing, we need to replace Michael Reister. He's on the Planning Commission, or he stepped down from the Planning Commission, Fire District 9, and Water District Number 1. Those are, need to be appointments by the jury, and I think we may have some, but if y'all have them, please get them to Jody so we can get those on the agenda. The Bayou Pierre Commission, we replacing Bubba Woods and Tommy Mason, so we're gonna need 2 names for the Bayou Pierre Commission. And of course, the Northwest Human Services District, we still don't have anybody, to my knowledge, that we've been asked to, by the jury to appoint, so we need to appoint someone on that as well. The last item, the Planning Commission and the Bayou Pierre Commission, they met this week, last week. The Bayou Pierre Commission, Game and Fish Commission met last Tuesday on the 15th. Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries biologist, Mr. Dowden, attended the meeting and gave updates on the happenings at the Clear Smithport Lake. There's an annual drawdown that will begin on September 1st, as long as they're able to open at least one of the gates. LDWF and DOTD are present when the gates are open. Last year, they were only been able to open one gate for the drawdown out of the 4 due to the conditions of those gates. The drawdown has been occurring, y'all have been authorizing us, the drawdowns since 2013 through the Bayou Pierre Commission to combat the invasive salvinium. Other items on the agenda was to adopt a resolution granting the approval to International Paper for the installation of a crossing of a new water line through the Clear Lake area. The resolution was passed by the commission and will go before the jury in September to ratify that. Lastly, James Lindsay who's a member of the Bayou Pierre Commission, stepped down as chairperson and was replaced by Johnny Pierce as the new chairperson of Bayou. The Planning Commission met last Thursday on the 17th. They gave the Palmetto Creek subdivision plat a final approval subject to the staff's approval of the construction plans and submittal of the plat signed by E911 and the parish sanitarian. The Palmetto Creek subdivision begins at the end of Bosman Road, and the roads are to be private and maintained by the Homeowners Association. Also, all homes must be built at least 1 foot above the base flood elevation. And that's all I have to report to you. Do any of you have any questions?
Thank you, Michael.
Yes, sir.
Lobbyist report, Mr. Chance McNeely, Delta Resource Group. Good evening, Mr. Chance.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the jury. Chance McNeely, good to see all of y'all. I have a document that I'm sure you all have a copy of for this month's update. First, I just wanted to go back over, y'all, the jury did receive funding this past session. We discussed that at length last meeting. I was able to be here when Chairman Bagley joined me here at the table. In order to get those dollars, the parish has to enter into cooperative endeavor agreements with either the Office of Facility Planning or the State Treasurer's Office, depending on the funding source. I just really wanted to tell y'all that I came and met with y'all's staff a few weeks ago. We kind of went through all that and talked through it, and I think everything's in order in that respect. Any money that you have cash in capital outlay, even if you don't spend it this year, it does stay there. If you get money in the general fund money through HB1 or the supplemental, if you don't spend that money by the end of the fiscal year, it converts into surplus and it's gone. So for the money in 560, which they all know the difference, we've talked through the difference in this. There are different strings attached to different dollars, and we discussed all of that together. So the other thing I wanted to mention was that last year y'all put a lot of thought and effort into developing your parish-wide road improvement program that you submitted for capital outlay, and it was a 5-year program. And so it's, November 1st is time for you to, every year by November 1st, you have to submit your capital outlay requests. So we're going to be coming up on that time pretty quick. And so we discussed the other day that, you didn't get your full first year request that you put in for. And so making sure that we, honor that original 5-year goal and shift those dollars around between the next 4 years to try to fully fund that original program. So maybe, our year 2 option or our year 2 request that was in the request last year, will have to be a little bit higher this year because it wasn't all funded in the first year. Does that make sense? Not really. Basically, if you had a total project cost of, say, I forget, $35–40 million for a 5-year program, in the first year we asked for 3 something and we got 1.6. So our year 2, we got to shift what we didn't get this year into next year's request so that we can get back on track, if that makes sense. Sorry. I can get in the weeds sometimes. The other thing that I just wanted to, share, and this is, Mr. Jones mentioned this, it is important. We all know it's election season. As you're talking to folks who are running for state, house, or senate, or governor, talking to them, taking this opportunity to educate them about severance tax and the huge disparity that the parish faces. Not just this parish, but we're the number one, but there are others. This is a great time to have those conversations with people when you meet them, and so please take the time to do that when they do come and meet you. The other thing I just wanted to kind of update you on is the election, and transition period that will take place. So election day is on October 14th, and we have a runoff about a month later. Inauguration day is January 8th. And so the current administration, Governor Edwards will be there until, January 8th, which means that this year's capital outlay request, the budget that this governor creates, will essentially be handed to the future governor in January. By that time, it's kind of hard for that future governor to make a huge amount of changes to the budget because you don't have a lot of time before you have to, pass the budget and all of this. So, they will make changes, but I guess what I'm trying to say is it's important what the current administration puts in, so we need to take these requests seriously, because if the current governor puts them in, that's good for us. The legislature will elect its leadership, generally the morning of January 8th before inauguration, and the leadership is what steers who's on all the committees. We had a Senate chairman who was against our severance tax bill, and he was the chairman of the relevant committee, and as long as that was the case, we were going to have a very difficult time. That Senate chairman selected by the Senate president. So it's important that we take the time to educate all these folks about our issues so that we hopefully get people in those positions who are more friendly to us on those issues.
Right. And just as you guys know, DeSoto Parish will have 2 Senate districts now. Neither one of them have an incumbent. Both races are contested, and the parish will have 1 House member now, and there is an incumbent, Rep. Bagley, and there's a contest on that race as well. So all of that is actively ongoing. The final thing I wanted to share is that when I met with y'all's team, we talked a little bit about grant funding, and I saw that it's on the agenda later, so I just wanted to offer a small piece of perspective. There are millions and millions of dollars that the federal government issues through grants every year, and they come available each fiscal year. So October 1st is a new fiscal year. And then the government issues NOFOs, Notice of Funding Opportunities, and they come out. And they come out for 6 months, 9 months, and it's a competitive grant process. And it's a special type of, it's a career actually. It's a career path that people go down to be experts in dealing with grants. In my experience, having worked for state agencies and elsewhere, it's very common to hire contractors or full-time people to just exclusively deal with grants to try to apply for and obtain as many grant funding opportunities as possible. And so I just wanted to share that there are a tremendous amount of grant opportunities out there from the federal government. And so to the extent that y'all saw fit to have somebody work on that, I can attest from my own experience, they would have lots of work to do. So I just wanted to share that. And otherwise, if there are no questions, good to see y'all.
I got one there for you.
Yes, sir.
I hadn't heard from Beneath Anger in a while. Where are we with Connect Louisiana? Where's the state with that?
So I don't want to say the dates wrong, but I know that during this past session there was 2 bills. One of them failed. That was trying to let me back up. Some of the issues with spending the broadband dollars are that number one, it's expensive to bury the fiber optic cable. So they tried to pass a bill to where broadband fiber optic cable could be essentially tied onto existing infrastructure like utility poles. And so the power industry, lots of people opposed that bill and said, hey, you can't use my infrastructure. You can't just piggyback off of what I've done, and that bill failed. I know that Beneath does consider, if he was able to use other people's infrastructure, it would be helpful to that program, certainly cheaper. And then they did make some tweaks to the Gumbo program. There's going to be another round of it coming available. I also, my understanding is that a local government entity like the parish still has to have good cooperation from you know, a provider. And when you, I guess a year ago, when you were chairman, we invited several of those companies to come here and to no avail. But thank you for bringing that back up, and I will do a status check on the dates for the broadband program, and I'll make sure to give that to y'all in my next report.
Okay, you know what area in the state they're working in? They got
Well,
it established yet?
I don't think that it's, I mean, my observation has been it's small projects sprinkled all over the state. So it's not as if, you know, one region of the state has had some huge progress, but it's more, you know, on a smaller scale, spread out. So,
Okay, Mr. Kennedy?
Chance, I've been in Ashdown, Arkansas every weekend, get diesel at the same pump at the same gas station. And every time I've been there, it's been early in Saturday morning, there's this cable truck pulling into the gas station, and they're going inside to use the restroom, get breakfast. So I asked the guy last Saturday what they're up there doing, because I've been seeing them since July the 2nd or 3rd. The power companies in around Ashdown, Arkansas, and he said most of Arkansas, the power company made an agreement with the internet provider up there, and he called them by name, and they are allowing the internet company to put lines on the power lines, on the poles, just like Comcast does here to run cable to across Stonewall. The power company is actually going to own and bill for internet, but they have a partnership where they're paying the provider for that service. So I know, being a numbers guy, putting fiber underground is probably never going to happen because it costs so much. But there's a decent chance that if you ask the right questions and start pushing Cleco and SWEPCO to work with the Comcast, the AT&T, or anybody else, those are just the two I know, there's a good chance if we put some heat on them to try to come up with some kind of co-op to do that. And I'll be honest, I think it's SWEPCO that's doing it in Arkansas. I think that's what he told me the power company was. So if they're doing it up there, they ought to be able to do it, even if in small segments or small populations around, you know, around our parish. We ought to be able to get something going on that end.
The legislation, when it was originally drafted, was it essentially it had the phrase "quick take" in it a lot, and so you had a huge outpouring of opposition from all types of landowners, the railroad industry, the power industry. I mean, just the list of opposition was extremely long, and it could be that the intent of that bill almost certainly is utilized elsewhere. I doubt that this is the first time that Louisiana had the idea you can use that infrastructure. They'll be back with that bill again, and they probably learned some lessons on the language and, you know, the ways to phrase it. But it was, again, it was very like expropriation type of, you know, oh, you need internet, we're going to take your land, you know, that kind of thing that was the debate that took place at the Capitol.
He told me the price per foot that they were charging to, this guy owned the company that was hanging the line, and it was ridiculous how cheap it is. And I told him about our parish and how we have, you know, we might have one house here and go 2 or 3 miles before you get to the next house because of the farming communities we have. And he said, oh, we've got that here too. We're running it to every house. He said, I just finished running 6 miles to serve one house with no kids. Wow. So I'm just saying, if they can do it and make it affordable, surely we can push the right buttons with the right people to make that happen.
Well, and I think perhaps the next time that Vineeth does come up here, and I talk to him every so often, I'll be sure to discuss that with him as well. I know that he feels that doing what you're talking about, Mr. Kennington, is very important to the success of his broadband program. Without doing that, he doesn't have enough money to get the service where it needs to be. So,
okay. Any more questions? Thank you, Chance, for the wonderful work you're doing. Okay, we're down to our treasurer financial report.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Y'all had the financials ending for July 2023 in y'all's packet, so I'm just going to go over a few items. In the general fund, we received our CWIF grant and the fire insurance rebate, which we have distributed that to all the fire districts, and then we dispersed the CWIF to the water company. For the fire insurance rebate, that actually was lower than the budgeted amount. There's really not a good way to be able to project that for next year, other than we just based it on what we received the previous years. You will also see in the general fund that we have now put in there the interest earnings and the gains of investments. This is an entry that was previously done just once a year. I am starting to do that on a monthly basis, just so you can be aware of what's going on with our investments, if we have a gain or a loss. So you will be able to see that on your financials going forward. Overall, the general fund budget, the revenues are at 104%, while the expenses are at 56%. The road fund, the revenues reflect the investments earnings from LAMP in the bank interest. I also have transferred $1 million from the ARPA fund, as per the budget that was approved last year. Our sales tax continue to stay up at 24%, and it's a surplus of $1.5 million. You will also see on the expense side that the road and bridge material right now, the expense is about 17% higher than the budgeted amount. However, the total fund expense on that is at 36% for expenses. In the jail fund, the sales revenue, once again, it's at 24% higher than the budgeted amount, with a surplus of about $300,000, while the expenses are about 32%. On this solid waste, sales tax revenue, the surplus on that is about $461,000. Our tipping fees are about 4% above budgeted amount, while the expenses are at 35%. Our criminal court fund is staying afloat. I just want to point out, however, there's some bills that I'm expecting to come, so it's not reflecting on these financials yet. So that will make a difference, but as far as the end of July, we're still doing pretty good. The OCS, we currently have about a $20,000 deficit. However, I just want you to know that we received the reimbursements from weatherization this month in August for $135,000. So that's gonna recover that. We have the LAHEAP program, the CSBG and FEMA. Our reimbursements on that is lagging about 2 months behind. And just to let you know, normally in previous years, the police jury usually funds about $160,000 from the general fund into OCS. We did not do that for this year, so this is why you're seeing that deficit. But like I said, we received $135 in the month of August, that you will see that. Airport expenses are exceeding the revenues by about 4%. That's normal for them. They're kind of been going off their fund balance on that. And that's all I have for financials, and y'all let me know if y'all have any questions on them.
Okay, there's any questions? If not, none, we'll go to item number 2. Accept the finance statement as of July the 31st, 2023, year-to-date budget to actual report.
So move.
Got a motion by Mr. Fuller,
Second.
second by Mrs. Simpson. Discussion? There's no discussion. Would you please vote? Have one remaining.
Oh, I already hit it. I'm gonna hit it again. Thank you.
Motion passes. approve of the minutes. July the 17th, 2023, regular meeting. August 7th, 2023, administrative, road, solid waste, personnel, and special meeting.
I'll make that motion to keep in mind all necessary corrections that need to be made to that.
Okay.
That's second.
Mr. Mitchell made the motion with all the necessary corrections to those items. And Mr. Fuller second. Discussion? There's no discussion. Would you please vote? Motion passes. Old business. Recommend awarding low bid to Ometer Corporation for the road department, wheel weights devices, the portable scales.
So move.
Got a motion made by Mr. Rowe. Second by Ms. Burrell. Discussion? There's no discussion. Would you please vote? One remaining.
That's me.
Oh, sorry.
I was making notes.
Motion passes. Item number 5, award low bid for open tops containers to waste equipment for solid waste.
So move.
Got Ms. Fuller made a motion, second by Ms. Burrell. Discussion?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Are these the open containers, the 14 that we are looking to purchase?
The 30 yards?
30.
Yes,
30 yards.
yes, that's correct.
Yes.
The
Once
bid
we
came in, we'll be able to afford 14 of them. The original was 10 to 12, but looks like we're able to.
Could you repeat that? I didn't quite.
I said the original estimate was 10 to 12, based on the amounts y'all approved in the budget, but we should be able to purchase 14 open tops.
Okay.
30-yard open tops.
Any more discussion? There's none, please vote. Motion passes. Item 6, rescind ordinance 6 of 2023, adopt May 15th, 2023, and adopt ordinance 12 of 2023. Previous passed in 2018.
So move.
Mr. Rowe made a motion.
Second.
Mr. Baker second. Discussion?
Discussion. Ordinance, this is when we were talking about the permit?
Yes, ma'am.
That's, I want to make clear before I vote. Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Would you please vote? Motion passes. Item 7, recommend appointing a new DeSoto Parish representative of the Northwest Louisiana Human Source District Board. I believe this the item Mr. Michael was talking about, that they didn't want to have any names to bring forward. Well, being not is none, we'll keep looking and searching. Hopefully we'll find someone to come forward. Okay, new business. Adopt a resolution using the David B. Mims 4-H building to house livestock during a declared natural disaster or emergency.
Make a motion.
Got a motion by Mr. Holmes,
Second.
second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion?
Discussion.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Norton, you said that you're working on a waiver information.
Yeah, a waiver of liability in the event that a show animal gets hurt or overheats
Okay.
due to the air conditioner. Yeah. We should have something. I should have something in writing for that. This resolution just authorizes us to.
So once you get it in writing, you'll send it out to us and let us view
A
it?
copy of the waiver? Yeah, I can send y'all a copy of the waiver.
Right, thank you.
Please vote. Motion passes. Personnel item,
Ms. Burrell?
personnel item, please.
Personnel,
I got it, sir.
personnel item, personnel, call to order. Is there any addition or deletion to the agenda?
No, ma'am, just item 8.
Okay, item 8. Recommend approving grant writer position and job description.
So move.
Got a motion by Mr. Fuller.
Second.
Who second? Mr. Jones seconded. Discussion?
I do.
Okay, Mr. Parker.
I'd like to know the number of actual grants that we applied for last year, and the number of grants that we actually got for last year.
We gave you guys a list, a brand-new updated list of all the grants that we've worked on since 2019 to present date. And if you look in the column, you have a total grant amount submitted, total grant amount awarded.
I'm looking for the total amount that we applied for.
That would be,
Brian actually spent time trying to get us a grant, and I want to know the total number of grants that we actually got.
yes, sir. The total amount that we would apply for would be your total grant amount submitted, and then total amount that we were awarded would be under the column that said total amount.
Can you give me that figure? So everybody can hear it. The people out there don't know this.
Yes, 48,651,244 was applied for, and 5,860,502 has been awarded since 2019. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Case there is no more,
So, Mr. Norton, some of those on that list, we didn't apply for. Those were congressmen called and said, we have some money, tell us where you want it.
That is correct, but the grant writer who would be in this position, and that's also what Brian has been doing, is it's not that simple as getting them to submit a letter of recommendation. Hey, we got some money, that's great, but you still have to work it, you still have to fill out the paperwork, and you have to track the paperwork with Division of Administration, which this office has.
No, I understand. I just don't want to mislead Mr. Parker's question that there's quite a few on here that I know, in particular, Barry Milligan and Larry Bagley got and called either the president at that time or called one of the jury members and said, I've got money, tell me where you want to spend it, and I need to know this weekend.
Right.
And then the paperwork happens later.
Correct.
I just want to make
Yes,
sure.
sir. Yes, sir.
would you please vote? Motion passes. Road item.
Road item come to order. Number 9, recommend amending the road budget to extend Constitution Road as an unpaved rock road for $20,000.
So move.
Got a motion by Ms. Burrell,
Second.
a second by Mr. Fuller. Any discussion? Yes, sir, Mr. Parker.
I think if you look at a map of this, that property already has a road to it. Extends, actually goes on two sides of it.
Okay.
I don't understand why we need to add any more road to it. Mr. Bledsoe, I believe is Bledsoe owns that property. And, the road gets to his property. My understanding is he's gonna build a trailer park there. I don't know why we need to add a road when we've already got a road to his property.
Okay.
We
And it-
won't be adding a road, we just gonna be adding on to the road that we already got. Adding on to that particular road, it ain't like we finna add a whole new road. But my thing is, we got 1,000 acres up there. And we keep doing stuff that's not bringing this parish any revenue. this trailer park will bring us some kind of revenue, which is a grand idea to me, because we keep investing money into buildings and different stuff up there that don't bring us a dime of revenue. At least this will bring us, we'll get some out of this investment. To me, it's like an investment. So, I'm for it. That's my district. And I've been trying to get a trailer park up there for quite a while. And it just makes sense to me. Cause we'll be willing to invest $400,000 in a building that don't bring us no revenue. $50,000 here for a park that's not bringing us no revenue. Let's start putting some stuff up there. Y'all know I've always wanted to develop that property up there. Let's start putting something in there that's gonna bring us some revenue.
Okay, any more discussion? If not, please
I
vote.
agree with Mr. Parker, and not only do they have access to 2 roads, on Government and also on Constitution, they also have another piece of property adjacent to where they want the park that they can get through, on Sprocket Lane also, Sprocket Drive or whatever. So they've actually got 3 accesses without us having to spend $20,000. And then, another question I have is how long is this Rock Road gonna stay Rock Road? I feel like probably within a couple of years it'll be asphalted and that won't ever come before the jury, it'll just happen. So, instead of a $20,000 expense, it's probably gonna end up more like around $60,000 expense. So,
I mean, if it that shouldn't happen. If it happened, it shouldn't happen, cause shouldn't nothing happen without coming before this jury, in my opinion. Or in these other access roads you talking about, we talking about putting trailers. I have one, I own one, I know what it is. I much rather come in straight into somewhere than to come in sideways and then have to make that turn to go. And these other access roads, it could be a problem with people that's putting the trailer. Why not, like I say, why not invest in some that's gonna be feasible and bring in, I'm gonna stick with that, bring in some revenue to this parish.
Mr. President,
Have they,
could I make an alternate motion to defer to September? I'd like to go look at the road.
Okay.
Somebody would second that and.
Sir, Ms. Holmes?
I'd like to know, have they submitted their plans to the, Planning Commission on what they're planning on doing with this property? So far, all we know is that's what they say they're gonna do, and we don't know why they need the road extended. You know, I've ridden by there and looked, there's plenty of room to put a driveway on either one of those access roads, as of right now.
Okay, we got an alternate motion on, Ms. Cow?
No, I think you need to second it first and then.
Yeah,
All right. The alternate motion?
he said he wanted to move it to September.
Okay.
All right,
I got-
so I got a question on the alternate motion.
Okay.
Well, on the whole thing.
Somebody
but
seconded?
She did.
Ms. Burrell.
Ms. Burrell did.
Oh, okay.
So if we do vote to push this to next month, I'd like somebody to report back to us. It's 10 acres, right, that he got?
I believe so, yes, sir.
And he bought it from us at a reduced price because it belongs to that industrial park. So I'd like to know what he paid for it and what our original agreement is, and is there anything in writing? Because I was told, I wasn't around back then, but I'm told that there was an agreement that you get a reduced price and you've got to do something with this property that does something for us. But if he got the property half price, I don't see why we need to put a road into it.
Okay, I'll look.
Mr. Mitchell?
My understanding was we traded property with Mr. Bedsoe. Steve, did we or did we not? That's my understanding, that we had property that was closer to us and he had that we traded. So.
I'll find out. I'll see what I can
That's what
find
I
out.
wanna know too, and I wanna go look.
Okay. Look, got a. Yes, regular meeting.
Yeah, cause I'm gonna, that'll give me a chance to research some roads we done did for other people.
Yeah, that's
That
fine.
costs way more than what we talking here.
Okay, we got an alternate motion on the floor. That we need to vote on.
Did we get a second on Ms.
Yes.
Burrell?
Second.
This item here is the alternate motion to move it to September meeting. Please vote.
I think I might have to go look at the road.
Motion passes.
Recommend authorizing the president to sign a corporate endeavor agreement with the village of South Mansfield for culvert work at 249 Ember Boulevard.
So move.
Got a motion made by Mr. Jones,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Simpson. Discussion?
Has this already been done?
No, sir.
No.
Please vote. I have two remaining. Okay. Motion passes.
Recommend authorizing the president to sign a corporate endeavor agreement with the village of Grand Cane for a road drainage system on Cook Creek Road.
So moved.
I got Ms. Burrell made the motion,
Second.
second by Mrs. Simpson. Discussion? There's no discussion. Would you please vote? Motion passes.
Recommend approving the E911 naming of Pride Private Drive.
We'll have a second. I mean, a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Kennington,
So moved.
second by Mr. Parker.
Where is it?
In my district.
In discussion? There's not none. Please vote. Motion passes.
Recommend awarding low quote for tree cutting services with count on it.
So moved.
Second.
I got Mr. Kennington made the motion, second by Mr. Mitchell. Discussion?
We might ought to put this off to an alternate motion.
For what reason? Is he on a low bid?
Well, he's qualified to run against a juryman,
But that,
and if we award him the bid, and he wins the election, then he can't cut the
Well, from-
trees.
and then you cancel the bid.
at that time?
Exactly.
Yeah, he wouldn't be able to.
It's common ground right now.
Common ground, okay.
I just wanna make, I'm like Rich, cause I remember when, that Bear man ran against me.
Yeah.
And, when he
Got to-
qualified, they canceled his thing.
He got to win first, but
You sure?
positive.
Council,
I'll have to look into it.
okay, then maybe we need to make an alternate.
Sir.
She said she-
He's our tree cutting guy. the one
Tree
we've
cutting
been
guy.
using.
Yeah.
If he's elected, he has to
He
quit.
running against
Fuller.
Mr. Fuller.
Who's he running against?
But last I heard, he's withdrawing.
Running against
So,
Richard Fuller.
Yeah, he running against Richard Fuller.
It's not a conflict until he gets
It's
it.
not a
Right,
conflict until
right.
he gets it.
I just wanna make sure.
Please
we
vote.
doing the right thing.
I heard they couldn't run it.
Parker's battery went down.
Motion passes.
Trying to figure out where yes and no was. Recommend authorizing the president to sign the change order number 1 for the drainage improvement with utility relocation on Railroad Avenue in South Mansfield.
So moved.
Got a motion made by Mrs. Simpson. Got a second by Mr. Jones. Discussion?
Discussion. The work is already being done. The work is completed, they just additional pieces that needs to be put in place.
Right.
As we
Correct.
discussed during
All the
committee.
work's been completed, yes, ma'am.
Please vote. Motion passes.
Really nice.
Solid waste.
Solid Waste Committee recommends authorizing the president to sign a contract with Dirty Water Solutions.
So moved.
Second.
I got Ms. Burrell made the motion. Mr. Mitchell second. Discussion?
Yes. Point Dirty Water Solution.
Yes, for the
They
the
clean,
landfill.
they clean the, and process the leachate water coming out of the landfill.
Thank you, Mr. Baker, that's okay.
What's that monitor pH, right?
I wasn't finna vote
They
for
monitor
some of this
pH as
dirty
well.
water.
Please vote.
I had that. So they do
Motion passes.
water, okay.
Recommends transferring $300,000 from solid waste sales tax surplus to the CD at Community Bank of Louisiana to cover the new estimated cost for closure, post-closure at the landfill, and authorize the president to sign amendment number 8 of the standby trust agreement with Community Bank of Louisiana for closure, post-closure of the Mundy landfill pursuant to LDEQ requirements.
So move.
Mr. Jones made the motion.
Second.
Second by Mr. Holmes. Discussion.
Mr. President, I'll be filing an abstention with the Board of Ethics as required since I work for the bank.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Any more discussion? If not, please vote. Motion passes.
Recommends authorizing the president to sign an agreement with Upland Road Developers of Monroe LLC.
Make a motion.
Second.
Mr. Holmes made the motion. Mr. Mitchell seconded. Discussion. No discussion, please vote. Motion passes. Motion to adjourn? Got a motion by Mr. Rowe, second by Ms. Burrell. All in favor, say aye. We adjourn. Thank y'all for coming out this evening. May God bless.
Let me know when you check the road out.